Am I looking forward to today's video, folks? We are at Riddings. This place is a beautiful venue. I've never been here before, but just driving into the car park, the venue, it's full of trees. It's a nice place to be, and I think we're going to have a fantastic day's fishing. This is a 2-day event. We've already had day 1, this is day 2, and I know that yesterday there were some great weights of silverfish. Lee won his section yesterday, so if he gets a good result today, he's got a chance of winning the festival, which would be fantastic. Now, we're going to dive into all his little secrets. We're going to dive into his brain. We're going to find out how he thinks during one of these competitions. We're also going to find out what's on his side tray, what goes into his feeding, what's on his rigs, his shotting pattern, all his little decision-making processes throughout the day. We're going to find those out. If you want more detail though, make sure you click the join button. There's a join button on our YouTube page, just next to the subscribe button on our Edge YouTube page, and you will find in that members section loads of detailed coaching style fishing videos. There's a video for every venue, every tactic you can think of, carp fishing, shallow, silverfish fishing in the winter, you name it, there's a video there. And if you've ever thought about a coaching session, or maybe you just want to fast track your fishing, there's something there for you. So bear that in mind. Let's go find out what Lee's doing. He's setting up at the moment. Hopefully we can catch him a little bit unawares, see what's on his side tray. Well folks, welcome to Peg 10 on Match Lake. This is a beautiful venue. I've never been here before, so first visit for me. First impressions are it's a wonderful place to be. Let's talk to Lee about how he's feeling about his peg, because I think it looks a pretty good area. Lee, talk to me about it.
Yeah, I mean, I've never fished this lake, Rob, but of course it's all on section points, and it's been pegged really well. It's been pegged by some people who fish here all the time. So if you take a look, for example, on the far bank, you'll see that they've all got like loads of room. 2 pegs on the point face completely opposite directions, and then look, every other peg round in this big bowl, and a guy there to his left. So their section's got loads of space. Now this section, basically what they tried to do was, they said, right, well, it's a section, so let's make it fair. So it's every peg along this bank, you know, and we're all in this sort of main bowl. Apart from, there was supposed to be 2 pegs around the corner. Now, unfortunately, with somebody not here today, it means there's a bit of a gap, and Danny down there is on peg 5. Now,
so let's point to Danny. Get in here. Where is it going to be? Danny is round the corner there. These pegs should be in, but we've had a no-show, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Danny's telling me though, as we walk by Lee, that his peg isn't the greatest. So even though he's got all that space,
Yeah.
he feels that these pegs are better. And obviously that's why it's been peg tight around here, because historically these are better pegs.
Yes,
is that right?
Exactly. So because the pegs are generally a little bit better, that's exactly right, Rob. That's why they've pegged it like they've pegged it, to give these pegs, the good pegs, slow them down and give the big pegs some room. So obviously Danny's got a little bit of extra room to what he probably thought he was going to have. But at the same time, you can have all the room in the world if the fish aren't there. So it's going to be really interesting today. Now, just to put that into perspective and why that's so important, yesterday was day 1 of this festival, and I managed to win my section on the other lake with 25 pound 12 ounces. Now, sorry, 8 ounces, 25 8 ounces, and Danny won the other section on my lake with 31 pound, and he actually won the match. So he's leading the festival, if you like. So if one of us was to beat the other one today, the other person obviously can't win. So that's a little intriguing battle. Then we've got Adam Palmer next to me here, who's absolutely fantastic angler, fishes loads of these silver matches and knows the place. He was second in my section yesterday. And then Tom Scully next to him, and obviously Tom needs no introduction. So we've got a tough section here. You know, Jamie Hughes over there was second in his section yesterday to Danny. So, you know, if he wins his section, he'll have 3 points. And of course, we've got the other lake. So there's loads of little battles going on. And I've just really got to, I've never fished this lake before, but from what everybody's telling me, there's lots of little skimmers. And I think listening to the talk yesterday, a lot of people got distracted by chasing for bigger skimmers because usually the bigger skimmers feed, but they just didn't. So because they didn't feed, a lot of people were sort of lost time. So I'm going to start off with sort of a numbers game in mind, and how we go about that, I'm still not too sure. So pellet fishing is a brilliant way to fish on this lake. Like tapping in a few pellets, catching a few fish. Something that we will definitely do a detailed video on this winter. And then the other way where a lot of people catch is ground bait and worms. Now you'll have seen me fish like that before. We went to Hallcroft and showed that with little balls of ground bait fishing. So I'm going to fish in that style today as well. Now that method won this section yesterday, but pellets won the other section. So I'm really torn what to do. One thing experience tells me, when you catch on pellets, you can ship one back like every chuck. Bites tend to be a little bit cleaner if you get the feeding right, which is obviously the key. And you end up just keep putting a fish in the net. But obviously a lot of good anglers on this lake tried to do that yesterday and they just ran out of steam really fast. And this section was one with ground bait and worms. So I'm going to set up rigs for both. I've given myself areas in the peg to do both. And hopefully try and just keep a fish coming all the time and see where that takes us. If we need to chase some bigger fish, I've plumbed up a line short where I'm going to loose feed a few casters. But speaking to people yesterday, there was literally no short fish caught on this lake yesterday. So, you know, I'm not going to put all my eggs in that basket, to be honest. So that'll just be there in case we need it. And that's the basic format of today's plan. And I've got a bonus because I've got Rob here, who'll be obviously proactively looking at everybody.
I think you'll find what I'll be doing, Lee, is I've got my snacks down here. I'll be sitting in my nice comfy chair eating for most of the day.
Yeah,
that's going to be most of my day. It sounds like
right.
You've got a pretty flexible plan, but you've covered all your bases. I think what we need to do, because obviously you're still setting up, is we'll let you get set up, let you get some bait out, and while you're fishing you can talk through all your rigs and all that sort of thing, because I like to, you know, go through it as we're actually using the kit. So that'll be really interesting. We'll talk about feeding and rigs and what you're doing with each sort of line as we go on throughout the day. Just before the start, we've got a ground bait mix there, a ground bait mix here, another ground bait mix behind that bowl, another ground bait mix in there. We've got pellets, pinkies, maggots, worms, casters, some expanders in there, more worms being chopped up. My head would fall off, Lee, with all these different baits.
Yeah.
But I can see you keeping your options open. Surely you're not going to feed all these baits in one place or feed them all at the start. Tell me what's going through your head.
No, absolutely not. So because I don't know the venue at all, and I only know that it's little skimmers, and I know that people caught on worms, people caught on maggots, people caught on pellets yesterday, I want to give my bait tray the option to change quickly. Yesterday I tried to rule out pellets, Rob, and then after 50 minutes I was rooting around in my bag for some pellets. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start today with pellets. And hopefully I literally feed a tiny bit of crushed ground bait and some pellets, some micro pellets, every chuck, and put a pellet on the hook and ship a skimmer back all day, and all we're talking about is the story of the day. However, fishing doesn't work like that. So what I want to do is I want to have my worms ready, which is what I've just done there now. So chopped a couple of potfuls of worms there, so I can feed some worms if I need to. This ground bait here is a bit damper because it might get fed like loosely squeezed or squeezed hard, but if I mix that with worms it just turned to slop. So this is how I mixed it up this morning, nice and dry. Remember the working tub, so this is effectively the working tub if you like here, so I can put the dry ground bait into the working tub, I can put some worms in and I can mix it with worms if I need to. So I've got that combination there if I need to. A few live maggots and pinkies just for hook bait. Got some casters here that I will flick on the short line over a little bit of this ground bait, and a few dead maggots. So literally just 2 hook bait options there. They're just hook bait. The only loose feed is casters. A few worms for hooking in this tub just in case. And that's it really. It's actually a lot more simple than it looks, if you like.
I get it.
You know, it's just a case of being prepared to change and you know, move quickly to suit what you need to do. So that's where I'm at. I've got my hook pellets here, so everything's nicely to hand, and then just literally see how we get on. And you know, if I need to chop a few more worms up, I will. Yesterday I chopped loads of worms up and threw a load away at the end, so I'm not going to do that today. I'm just a couple of potfuls. Yeah, because I've got to be honest, everybody was worms, 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 and at the end of the match, did you catch on worms? Did you catch on worms? I never had a single fish on a worm yesterday. I only caught on maggots, and I didn't actually feel worms were amazing, so I'm going to just hold off a little bit and see what happens. And maybe if I blow pellets up, or I don't get pellets quite right, or I don't feel pellets are right, I shall quickly refeed. It's all the same depth, I've got rigs for everything. It is, I'm going to say it's pretty straightforward. I just need to, you know, keep a balanced head and see what happens really. That's the crack.
Right. There's a minute to go. I'm going to let you settle down and get the match started.
For the most in-depth videos about fishing on the internet, you can become a member at www.anglingedge.co.uk. Sign up today, you get all the new videos and access to all the past videos as well. And you're in luck. You can go on YouTube, The Edge YouTube channel, and now if you love watching your content on YouTube, you can become a member on YouTube instead and watch all the videos from the past and going forward, the best fishing videos on the internet.
I'm saying we are 15, maybe 20 minutes in now. Lee's catching well. Little tiny skimmers, but it's a silverfish match. We're talking about 20, 25 pound being the target weight. Another skimmer. And that's sort of the stamp that these fish are. They're 3 ounce a piece, I'm saying, averaging. Just swingable on nice light gear. Pellets has been the bait initially, and Lee's feeding really small amounts of bait, so you can see there he didn't even fill his pot up that time, didn't put any bait in that time. The impression I'm getting is he's trying to catch maybe 2 or 3 fish from each little tiny amount of bait that he's putting in. We'll talk about the bait, how he's feeding it in a little bit more detail as he gets going, but it's been a great start. Float's dotted right down. Let's see if I can get in.
It's hard for me to see, Rob, so
Get in on that, yeah.
it's all
I'm nice and low so I can sort of see it, but
when the wind drops, and we've got a lovely dark water here, when the wind drops I can just about see it, but when the wind's there,
yeah, I've noticed that. I mean,
it's hard to see. I just missed a couple of bites there, which
yeah,
I
I've
haven't,
seen it's like
you know, I haven't
dotted right down.
probably not missed a bite for the first little bit.
No, it's been clean, everything's been beautiful,
Yeah.
but this is the thing, you know, with these little fish and that wind getting up and putting a bit of a shimmer on the water, and you miss a couple of bites and you get out of your routine, and then your feeding becomes a little bit off, especially when you're feeding small amounts of bait.
The trouble is you've only got a little soft pellet on and a small hook, so
Do you think they can peck it off easy?
well, either you miss a bite or you could pull it off even though it's only a gentle lift. But there you go, it's better. That's better. But also it's trying to teach me where to fish in and around it. Do I fish left of it, right of it, past it, on it? When do I need to top up? Generally speaking, Rob, if I'm missing bites, I think that, you know, maybe I was a bit keen with that top up. Maybe, you know, you sort of said I'm trying to catch 2 or 3, which I am. Maybe I should try and catch 5, you know. So just got like a little 2mm Pro expander, look, on the hook.
So you've not fed now for 3 puts in.
Is it? I thought it was 2 fish I've caught. Two fish I've caught on that feed. But
This will be your 3rd put in.
But I missed a couple of bites, so, you know, I just got that in mind. It'd be nice if we get a nice quick one this time, would be great. Or not necessarily a quick bite, but just a, you know, everything nice and clean. Don't really want to be, if I miss bites, I'll probably think, well, there's still bait there. If I have to wait for a bite, then obviously that's a sign to feed, and it, you know, hopefully in the next sort of 20 seconds, you can see little taps there.
Yeah, little tiny taps, and these skimmers are notorious for that, aren't they? Little tiny taps on the float, and just because they just don't move very far when they take the bait in. I mean, look, he was on, wasn't it?
He was on, yeah.
Sort of like just mouthing the bait.
Yeah,
and this is why sort of a bit more direct rigs are needed for this sort of thing. So maybe slightly shorter hook lengths and weight closer to the hook. You just need to see all these little indications. Like I say, these fish are probably taking the bait. They're only moving a small amount, so you're just not seeing the bites like you would when a big old carp comes in and sucks everything in. Pellets are a strange bait as well, because the fish sort of sit there and just mouth the bait rather than grabbing it and running off like they probably do with a bit of worm or a maggot. They sort of mouth it and don't really move that far, so you need to be tight to your float. And you can see there, Lee's got about 10 inches of line between his pole tip and float. He needs to react pretty quickly to bites, and also you don't want the float drifting around all over the peg, trying to keep everything so accurate and so tight. If Lee can keep the float bang on the spot, he knows he's got a better chance of a bite. So there, so see where that shimmer comes on, it's so difficult to see the float in that little bit of ripple.
No bait in there, Rob, so I'm not sure when that bait came off, for example.
So there it goes, baiting up again. Might be able to just see that shot in there. A lot of the weight, bottom third of the rig, strung out 10s, are they, Lee?
9s actually, Rob.
Strung out 9s, so nice and positive. So when the fish does take the bait and he displaces that last shot, it's a positive indication on the float. We're trying to magnify everything. See if we can get one this time. I mean, from what I've seen, Lee's had a great start on these little fish in comparison to a lot of people around the lake. Lost that one. And he just needs to get into his rhythm again. He was in a beautiful rhythm. I think curse of the camera has just took him out of it a little bit. I think game plan at the minute is just catch what you can, because it doesn't seem like there's loads of fish being caught. If Lee can keep putting one of these skimmers in the net, we're saying they're maybe 6 to the pound, 5 to the pound. So what's that? 100 fish is going to give you £20. So I think that's the initial target. And he's well on the way, because I think he's got 10 or so at the minute. Right, we're about an hour in, and I think we're up there, but Tommy Boy Scully has made a switch to ground bait, and he's started catching some better stamp fish. He's catching at the same speed as Lee, but his stamp is much better. So Tom Scully is next but one angler. He's just shipped out there, see if he can get another fish. I'm putting Tom on about £5 now, because he's just had £2 so quick since he put that ground bait. Looks like he's fishing worms as well, like ground bait and worming. Whereas Lee he's catching, but lots of smaller fish, and I just don't know if the stamp's good enough. I just don't know if he's going to end up with a big enough weight come the end of the day, because we've just been talking about it. And I think to win this festival, which is what Lee wants to do, he's got to be winning this little 6 or 7 peg section to do that, because there's too many guys from yesterday that have done well. So in the last 4 or 5 fish, Tom's had a couple that were like 10 or 12 ounce, and this is the stamp that Lee's catching, like 3 ounces, 2-3 ounces. It's not very good at all, but he's catching consistently. So I think Lee's going to have to make a change to win this section, otherwise Tom's going to
This is a bit of a gamble what we're doing here, Rob.
go away with it. So I'll tell you who else before you do what you need to do. So what are you doing? Just a bit of ground bait?
Yeah, ground bait, 2 lots of ground bait in my pot, nice and loose with some worms in the middle.
Right. So this is totally opposite to what we've been talking about. There's Tom, look. Tom's got another fish.
I'm going to feed it to my right top as
It just
well.
seems that Tom is just catching better quality fish. Oh, it's got a lovely fish on there. Sometimes there could be little F1s or carp, but it's catching better quality skimmers now for sure. Didn't even have to unhook that one, mate. Well done. And then, obviously match winner from yesterday, round that corner, goes in the way, is Danny. And I've been keeping an eye on Danny, and he's catching, but smaller fish. He's catching really small fish, and I think Lee's ahead of him. So at the minute, I'm putting Lee sort of second in this section, but he wants to win the section. That's what he wants to do, because I think he feels that unless he wins it, he's not going to win the festival, and that's the aim. So some ground bait's gone in, and we're going to see what happens. And hopefully we're reporting back with a £1.5 skimmer laying in the landing net within a few minutes. The worms are doing a business, because everything's just nicer. We're not worrying about spotting off little tiny dinky bites. We can have a little bit more float showing. And look, nice big clunky strike, that's what we want to see. Nice and positive. And this is like 4 fish on worms, and every fish has been bigger than those that we were catching on pellets.
Why do we fish pellets for an hour?
That's amazing, that is, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's been the biggest fish of the day so far. If we can catch them every chuck, we're in business. So just while you ship out, show us what you're doing with your hook bait.
So all I'm doing is just getting a little worm, not a tiny piece, but like a maggot length.
Okay.
My rig is a lot nicer, it's like strung out a bit. As you can see, I've got, don't get me wrong, I've still got it dotted, but I've got a little bit more bristle showing. So like, basically when it's going under, it's almost like a that's gone under wallop, you know. Because you don't need to rush the strike, because the fish is munching on a piece of worm. The positive news is, Rob, I fed some worms there and we've had bites. Like, I mean, literally, I haven't fed them very long ago, have I? You know, so the fact that we're getting a few bites almost straight away has given me a lot of confidence.
A lot of confidence. I mean, you've just said that yesterday you tried this sort of thing and you never had a bite on a wormhead. So it shows how different lakes can be and how different days can be. But the fact that we rested that little bit of ground bait for what, 5 minutes just to let it go down. Look at that big wallop strike. So we rested that ground bait and then dropped on it, and it's been bites every drop in.
Yeah.
I mean, that was the sort of stamp that you were catching on your pellets.
Yeah.
2 ounces. So we're not missing out on them fish, but I just think we're getting a much better chance of some better fish. So let's just update you what's going on. Far bank, I'm not seeing loads of fish being caught. I think probably maybe Jamie's winning that side. He's catching an odd fish. I think he's winning that side. Looks like he's got a few different pellet swims going on. So he's been fishing left, right, rotating lines, trying to nick fish, but he's catching small fish, but he's catching okay. And then we've got Tom, who's, I'm saying he's just ahead of Lee. Got another fish there, or did he miss that bite? I think he missed that bite. I think he's just ahead of Lee. He's probably about, so hard to tell, but maybe a pound ahead because he's had a couple of better fish. And it doesn't look like a lot's being caught. Danny, our leading light, right on the corner. He's catching a lot of small fish, but I've just seen him net a decent fish, like a 12 ouncer. So maybe he's on the march as well. I expect things will get interesting as the day progresses, because I think just some bigger fish will start feeding. What I'm surprised about is, I know there's millions of carp in these lakes. I've only seen 2 hooked. So it's maybe not a carpy day, unless obviously the anglers have worked out a way of avoiding them. Might be a case of we get plagued by them later on as they start feeding. But at the minute, I'm saying we're up there, we're in contention. And this ground bait and worms looks like the way to go. Lee keeps feeding casters short as well, so I think at some point we'll be able to drop on those casters and nick a couple of fish. Apparently yesterday it wasn't a case of, wow, it wasn't a case of plundering a short caster line, it was a case of just dropping on it and nicking an odd fish before you go back on your main line. There he goes. Believe it or not, that's a chunky fish compared to what he was catching on pellets. Makes you realise that, because we think of pellets as a big fish bait, but it makes you realise that there's a lot of mouths down there. And when you're feeding micros and expandery type ground baits, crushed expander type ground baits, a lot of it's getting eaten. So what we're doing here is just doing a handful of worms, a couple handful of worms, a bit of that drier ground bait mix. It's making a little, that's what we call a worm bomb. So a little worm bomb, probably the size of a big conker. That's going to go in. Feeding this way, it's going to be obviously important to read your swim, because you can't just sit there not feeding. Regular top-ups are going to be the way, but you've got to get a feel for when it's sort of drifting away from you, or there'll be certain cues. You might start catching an odd little roach over your ground bait and it's time to put another ball in, or you might just notice that the stamp decreases, or you're waiting a little bit longer for bites, and that's the time to put another little ball in. So that's going to be important for Lee now, to start reading his swim, because I think it's probably a little bit too deep to start loose feeding over the top. You know, classic situation, especially if you were fishing for roach maybe, would be a couple of balls of ground bait and then loose feed casts over the top. But I think firstly you're going to pull in a load of carp doing that. Secondly, I think your silverfish should be floating around at all different depths. For skimmers, it's definitely better to set that little trap. This is similar fishing to the video we shot at Syke House, isn't it, Lee?
Yeah, it is, yeah.
We went to Syke House and did a long pole skimmer silverfish video that's on the website. It's a similar sort of thing.
Strangely, Rob, it makes me think about having 2 lines, but
Yeah, I was thinking that could have been the way, but I don't know, especially with like when that wind gets up, you wouldn't really want a line to your right, would you?
no.
So look at that indication straight away after putting that.
That's the other thing. I think there's a lot of fish, so I'm not, at the moment, generally, there's not a lot of waiting for bites, so it's not like you just catch 3 and then they go. The question is whether I've sort of gone too soon with that top up or not.
There's indications all the time.
Yeah,
because
because
they obviously want it.
Yeah, because they just topped it up. Obviously, there's a lot of fish there, so they're fighting over your bait.
I think this is mega now, mate. You keep doing this, and I'm saying we're not going to be far away. It's a Roach or Chuck short, but look. Tom Skull there, another fish. We need something to happen now, that's for sure.
We're in trouble here today, Rob.
Yeah.
We were catching a few skimmers, and then we've just had an hour, I'm saying, where it's just absolutely gone horribly wrong, and I don't know why, but almost like there wasn't a skimmer in the peg. Started a new swim, not caught them there. And I've got, like I say, I've got no idea really why that's happened. So fed a bit of bait short and just had a drop in. Caught a very quick 5 roach. Missed a bite then. So I'm just, the stamp's not even been that big, so Tom's caught steady away in that hour, and Tommy's, I'd say, good 3 or 4 pound ahead of me.
Yeah, I've just had a walk down. I spoke to Danny. Obviously, I've been watching Tom.
Yeah.
I reckon Tom's got, let a guess, 15 pounds, something like that. I think Danny on the end has got.
He's got 15 pound as well, hasn't he?
I think he's got 13 to 15 pound. He's admitting to 13 pounds, so he's probably got 15. Catching a lot of roach in his edge, odd skimmer. I think he's got a similar weight to Lee, if I'm honest. And then I'm putting you on what we got, 9-10 pounds, something like that.
Yeah.
And we need a run, that's for sure. These roach are dumpy though, mate, isn't they?
Yeah, they're dumpy.
So it might be. They're the sort of fish you needed to catch early. Well, they weren't they? That,
I know, yeah.
if you'd have caught one of those every chuck early on, we wouldn't
Yeah.
be in trouble now. But
I just don't feel like an hour and 10 minutes of these is getting me out of trouble.
no,
Do you know what I mean?
no.
Because it's
I think
the
you're going to catch
skimmers.
fast. I think you're going to catch more than Tom.
But like, look at Tom now.
I know, I can
you
see.
know. It's just,
I think
I
you're going to
don't-
catch more, but whether you're going to make up that ground, I don't think you are. But you know, he's 3 or 4 ounces, isn't it? Let's see what this is that Tom's got, because he takes his time, Tom does, with his fish, and sometimes you think it's a carp, and then he lifts the net up and it's a pound skimmer. And we've not seen anything over a pound, have we?
oh, nothing close. Nothing even close to a pound.
So I think this could be a carp. Stripping a load of elastic out, look.
Yeah, it looks carpy.
Yeah, that's got to be a carp. Which, not ideal in a silvers match.
So just for these roach, I sort of neglected the short line because I felt really that I wasn't going to catch anything there, because I felt you needed skimmers. And from what they caught there yesterday, they've not caught anything there. So I've kind of ignored it, and I'm annoyed at myself because I've had a really poor hour where if these would have been here, I could have potentially filled that hour with something.
Yeah, but you just don't know, mate. It's those decisions in fishing, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
So,
yeah.
obviously, I've never been to this venue. You have a couple of times. Have you fished this lake?
I've never fished this lake, mate. No.
So it's hard to say, isn't it? If you've got no experience on a lake, and this is what we always tell people, you just need to get out there and get a bit of experience and build a bit of a picture of what you're going to expect. Now, it's all right saying yesterday the lake was warm with skimmers and fishing long pole, but that's not always going to be the case. I mean, a lovely little run though. You've probably had not quite a pound since you've been fishing this line. You've only been going 5-10 minutes, and I think you've got to be thinking of a target weight of maybe 20 pound.
I need a £5 hour rod.
Might salvage you.
I need a £5 hour to have any sort of chance. I'm just not sure that I'm, you know, if it was one a bung, maybe you would get to that, but I don't know.
There's plenty of bites there,
Yeah, there was.
and they're
plenty.
dumpy. I would just wonder if you get it to the bottom a couple of times and there's an odd better skimmer.
Well, that's
or,
what we need. That's what we need to sort of go in and like that, and then when it goes under, be a 10 ouncer. But not quite sure how to feed it just yet, because sort of I think if I loose feed too much there, I'll end up bringing them up in the water.
See,
That's a
look, what's
carp.
there's carp. Look,
Yeah, which is my second carp there already.
I've not seen many big fish caught at all other than carp. I've not seen a 2 pound skimmer or a big perch or a big roach. I've not seen that. Not seen that happening yet. So I just don't know whether those big stampy fish are in this lake. There's bound to be a few, but whether they're there in quantity, I'm not too sure. Let's have a look, see what Danny's doing down here. So Danny, I've just walked down, he's fishing pellets, 7 metres out, and he's getting bites, lots of bites. He's catching a real mixture of fish as well. He's netting an odd fish, he's catching a lot of those 3-4 ounce skimmers. I'm saying it's close between him and Tom. I think Danny's been consistent all day, so has Tom. Tom's had an odd better fish. I think it's close. Lovely fish that was, beautiful roach. So look, there's Danny, what's he got? Got the maver pole in the way. But he's netted that one. Another 3 ounce. It's going to be close. This is going to be a tight finish. We need our man to have a storming last hour. Right, let's give you a bit of an update. We've got 90 minutes left. Lee's netting a carp there. Sadly, they don't count. We've got a bit of a decision to make because we think Tom is winning this section. He's doing really well. He's fishing, I think, 13 metres out. He's catching nice stamp skimmers. Whereas Lee seems to be a bit more inconsistent with his fishing. He's getting bites, but no real big fish, and not as consistent as he wants to be catching. So we've got Tom down as winning this section, and like we say, Lee needs to make a bit of a move. So he started up another line. We're thinking ground bait and worms is the right way to go, and we've started up another line. Really positively. So we've got one sort of negative line, which is where he's fishing now, and then he started up another line with a lot more bait slightly to his left, hopefully to push on. But first drop in, he's had that carp, so hopefully the carp do a vanishing act and he starts catching a few skimmers. Then around this corner, let's get round the corner, because we've got Danny, and I think Danny has got a similar weight to Lee. It's difficult to see because he's round this corner and he's a long way away. That's the peg that should have been in. So that angler didn't turn up today. So Danny's end peg with a lot of room. Now this area of the lake apparently isn't great, which is why they space it out anyway. But he's catching a few fish. I've seen him netting a few fish, I've seen him swinging a few smaller fish. So we're not quite sure what Danny's got. I reckon Lee's no worse than third in his section. He's definitely not winning it though, because Tom's winning the section. As you see there, when Lee swings this fish in, look. Yeah, that's just tiny fish. He needs some quality fish to turn up. Hopefully, later part of the match, we know that's when some bigger fish will turn up. Hopefully that's what's going to happen. But I think I'm going to have a wander to the calf, get something to eat, and come back and pray that Lee's snared a few big boys. Wow, last 5 minutes. Yes, get in there. What we're saying, Lee?
Unfortunately, Rob, not enough. I've really enjoyed the day's fishing. I've just had some stiff competition that's caught a bit more than I have, so that's been the major issue today. I've really enjoyed it, like I say, but I've had too many really slow spells, and it's just cost me. It's just cost me really. I've had a little run short, which was really exciting, and then carp. But these sort of fish, you know, I've seen other people catching them a lot more consistently, than me, and I just haven't caught them with any sort of consistency, and I'm not really sure why. Maybe I've just been a little bit, feel like I was fishing for a bigger number of fish than I probably needed to, so maybe a little bit of a slower pace would have helped me perhaps. But you see there, Tom's got a big one on there. Tom's the man today, and Danny down there might lead me in third.
I think at the minute, mate, you're third in this section.
I mean, that fish there that Tom's got.
Yeah, you've not had any of those. Tom's just netted a fish probably 1.5 pounds. You've not had, I think you've had one, haven't you?
Yeah.
The rest of your fish are all under 10 ounce, I'd say.
Yeah. And that's the thing, like, I just haven't had one, like I say, just over £1, and then the rest is just small. Enjoyed it, but you made a good observation earlier. You sort of said it slowed right down, as if you're fishing for proper fish, but when it goes under, it's like a 6 ouncer.
Yeah, it's I just don't know. Are you on enough of those little fish to make it a session where you can just get your head down and catch them? I don't know. And if you did do that, are you going to end up with enough weight? I think you do need them better fish, but they've just don't seem to have been in this little area for whatever reason. Obviously, to your right, he's struggled a little bit, and then to your left, look, we've had lots of bites and lots of fish to your left, but no real size to them. Like a lot of small roach and small skimmers and smaller fish.
I say he's been the epitome of the small fish, Rob.
Oh yeah.
You know, and like that's the.
Yeah, I mean that's been your average, I'd say, that stamp there, 4 ounce.
Yeah,
something like
on
that.
this bait, yeah.
Yeah.
I'd have been happy with that of an average on pellets, because you could catch quicker, but they were just so small.
Yeah.
Even then, they came and went, didn't they? Let's be honest. It wasn't absolutely solid on that.
I'll tell you what you've got to bear in mind, folks, that this is obviously a raw session. I'm here filming everything on the phone. We're having a bit of a raw live match, but if you want to find out anything whatsoever in a detailed style, there's a join button on our YouTube channel. If you hit the join button, you can see everything from the rigs Lee's used, the elastic, the setup, how he mixes ground bait mixes, shotting, hook choices, how you hook a bait, different baits used at different times. It is really, really in depth what we talk about, and there's a video on there for, I'd say, literally every style of match fishing in the UK. Some abroad videos as well from Europe, and they're in a coaching style. So if you've ever thought about a day's coaching with a top angler but never taken the plunge, this is a way you can get that day's coaching by sitting at home and just watching a few videos. But we know of anglers that it has helped massively by joining up. That's it, all over. Let's wait for the weigh-in and see what the totals are.
Oh no. 23 to the 4 now, mate. That's
Yeah, 23.2. So, Danny around the corner, £29. Tom Scully, £26. Lee Carey, £23, was it?
£23, yeah.
£23. Loads of underestimations, wasn't there? We thought maybe you've got big teens and Tom Scully's probably got 20 and Danny's maybe got 20, but Danny had nearly 30.
Yeah.
Third in your section though, where do you think, is that going to give you a chance of any overall money?
I'm needed to be top 2. I'm disappointed really, because I've had a nice day's fishing for my £23. I just feel like the day's gone away from me all the time, and it just you know, it's just been disappointing. Obviously Danny's done really well down there, kept catching, you know, it wasn't an area that anybody fancied, but I think the extra rooms helped him. And then Tom's done brilliant. He's a £26, slightly better fish. Always felt he was like £2 or £3 ahead. I think got a lot of carp at the end as well. Have made it interesting. So I'm at the moment. It always takes me a few hours to digest it, Rob. Like in terms of like where I could have tweaked or adjusted. But I'm happy with the day. I think third in the section will a first and a third.
Not quite enough. I'm not too.
Quite enough.
Not in 7 peg sections.
But we'll put the results on.
I think, look, Danny's had a lot of space. He knows exactly what he's doing. He's done fantastic.
Just a brilliant match, yeah.
I think he's out of sight. You know what I mean? So
I know he's won the festival here.
He's won the festival. So I think you can't really think about that on your drive home. But maybe was Tom in sight? But again, he's had £3 or £4 more than you. Still weighing in over there.
Yeah, Tom was in sight for sure.
I've not seen him catch a lot over there, mate. But I think like Jamie yesterday. What's Jamie had yesterday? He's won his sectional second. Was he yesterday?
I think he's just said £24.
Right.
Yeah, he was second yesterday. So I'm pretty confident he's won that section. I don't think anybody's going to touch him over there.
I think he's won that section as well.
Anyway. Yeah, interesting. Enjoyed it. I hope you guys have enjoyed it. More importantly,
it's good to just get into. It's good to get in because
match, isn't it?
you know how often can you go during a match? Can you go? Oh, let's have a look what you're feeding there, and have a look at all those things and the ground bait, and actually see under the bait brolly and have a look on that side tray. Yeah. So I think it's really interesting.
We're going to keep doing them, Rob, aren't we?
Yeah, definitely. Beautiful place to be though. What a fantastic place. I love it. Fishing in the woods. I think I'll be back.